Welcome to Buckets, your daily NBA betting podcast. The stars have arrived. We are sweating bets as we speak. I'm Brandon Kravitz, joined by Sean Little and Bryan Fonseca. The squad has some bets to place tonight, and we've got some to wrap up that are in front of us. We have been locked in. If you have been waiting for us to go live for the last several minutes, we apologize. We're sweating some very tight wagers here, and we'll start talking about that here in just a moment. Just know anything that we talk about, anything that we give out, you can find on the award-winning Action Network app. And you're going to want to check out Action Pro to celebrate Super Bowl 60. You get $60 off an annual subscription right now. Just visit actionnetwork.com/pro to get started. That's $60 off Action Pro at actionnetwork.com/pro. So one of my lessons tonight was going to be that sometimes sports betting is just about learning the same stupid lesson over and over and over again until it's beaten out of your head. And the obvious is not so obvious sometimes. The obvious over tonight was Heat Bulls. Two top pace teams in the league. The game flies under. I wasn't on that one. The obvious under tonight was Suns Pistons. An absolute rock fight. Two of the best defenses in the league, and both have been playing well lately. The Suns put up 72 points in the first half, and Sean, I just gave up on it. I threw up my hands. I was having a good night otherwise, and I said, it's okay. You're not going to win them all. We'll just put that one to the side, and we'll move on to greener pastures. And then you talked me off the ledge. You said, slow down. We might have something here. So I haven't been keeping my eye on it in the last couple of moments as we've been introing buckets tonight, but how are we looking? And is this in its own right a lesson learned to not give up on a wager that is still live?
Hey man, you know my motto in the game is whatever you need to do to keep your mental locked in, that's what you do. So if you need to punt on a game mentally that's still in progress, you do it if you feel like that's going to help and don't send you over the rails. You try to avoid tilt at all times. I think that's whatever. Like anytime anyone asks me, should I cash this out or what should I do here? Like, would I want to cash this? If you're going to go off the rails mentally, if you don't, then you should cash it. If you can handle it, either it coming in, if you don't, or if you cash it and it coming in, or if you don't and it bricks, either way, whatever, you just got to protect the mental at all costs. That's my motto.
Well, I just checked the final, and the under did cash in Suns.
What was the total?
Pistons.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we are golden.
It cashed by a lot.
210 was the final score. 114.96. I got it at 216.5. Gave it out on buckets last night as the 3-star play. Closed at 214.5. So we got some CLV.
I need a miss. I need a miss from Jonas Valanciunas at the free throw line to cash the Denver Nets under.
So yeah, you were on the other obvious under of the night between the Nets and the Nuggets. The Nets were playing MPJ and a whole lot of nothing else.
Damn, Valanciunas drained him.
So where was that line and how it doesn't look like you're this is not going well for you. You're getting crushed in the final couple of seconds of this game.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. They had under 209.5 and all types of stuff. The last 45 seconds happened to even have a shot. At one point, I think with like 90 seconds left, the live total was like 201.5. So tough spot there. All good. The hook got us.
All right. Well, Brian, how did your night go? And I'm sorry for dragging you last night on buckets, by the way. I'm glad that you didn't listen. It wasn't pretty, but it was my own fault. You did your thing, and you had a good night the other night with Sean on buckets. I decided to tell you on the one play that didn't even have a chance.
Mo Wagner. I don't know.
Wagner over 11.5 points plus rebounds, and then
we can blame Jamal Mosley for that. Honestly, yeah. Like how do you play him 4 minutes? He didn't re-aggravate anything. I didn't hear anything internally. He played the final 4 minutes of the first half the other night, and then didn't play another minute.
in a game where his matchup was phenomenal. It made no sense. But anyway, how'd your night go? That's so far in the past. It doesn't matter anymore.
My night was 0-0. I didn't have anything tonight, actually. I already have some stuff tomorrow, which we'll talk about. But I do have as you know, my favorite prop coming into the season was Hornets win total. And we're one step closer to that over 25.5. As this damn team, as a nod to Chris, who I interact with on the Action Network Discord, which you should join if you're not in. We've been more active there lately. Chris is a Hornets fan, and I absolutely adore his team. So we talk about his team glowingly. And as he coined it, because I continue to talk about to you guys, remember, if you listen to Buckets, this is our little secret. Don't tell anybody else. This team is unbelievable on no rest. As Chris says, you cannot spell Hornets without no rest, which is genius. Now, to be fair, the Hornets did not cover tonight. They did not cover tonight, but they did win. So I will give you the updated numbers for people to keep this in mind for the next time we have a Hornets spot like we did perhaps not tonight, but yesterday, because I really liked them against Memphis and they took care of business. Hornets are 9-2 with no rest against the spread. They were 9-1 before this game. They won by 2 tonight. They were favored by 3.5. It is what it is. On a rest disadvantage against the spread, 8-3 this season. On a rest disadvantage win-loss, they're 7-4. And on no rest win-loss, they're 8-3. The team is ridiculous. Like, the team is ridiculous. Like, in weird spots. And I think it's 16-11 or 17-11 with Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, and LaMelo Ball starting together. And with Moussa Diabate, the net rating is off the charts. Like, this is, I'm not telling you this team is going to even make the playoffs, but I like them to go over and make the play-in. They win a game against a tough defensive team in Dallas, who, look, they're still shorthanded, and it's Dallas, I know, but they're winning games, man. They're winning games.
I think making a bet on them to make the playoffs is not a bad idea. I don't think it's hasty. We talked about it last night on Buckets. They're plus 550 as of last night to make the playoffs. Now they are most likely going to make the play-in. So what you'd essentially be betting is at plus 500 range. Do you think that's a good number once they're in the play-in to jump in and vault themselves into the playoffs? My answer to that would be yes. And the way that they're playing ball right now, I don't know that number is getting any better.
Well, knock on everything possible because a part of it is health. A big part of it is health, I would say.
And Brandon Miller has looked phenomenal.
He, as advertised, right? Like, people have kind of intimated this could be Paul George 2.0. We're seeing more flashes of that. I don't know what Con Knipple is. He's gotten Klay Thompson comparisons. that at least visually, it may not appear such to people, but it does count as a cross-racial comparison.
He's Dan Marley. He's the new improved Dan Marley. Like, that's really what he is. He's not Klay. People forget that Klay, before the lower body injuries, was the best on-ball defender in the National Basketball Association. He would strap people up. I loved him on D. It was an underrated aspect of his game. All people wanted to talk about was him beyond the arc. Defensively, he was an absolute stopper. Knipple can absolutely shoot it and is really, really good. He's nowhere close to what Klay was defensively or just that pure of a shooter, but that squad overall is very, very interesting. I love the way this is only his fucking first year in the league, so he's only going to get better. I saw a funny tweet that said there's a championship waiting for Giannis in Charlotte if he wants to go get it. So I laughed and I had a good chuckle while I was having
That was Brian's burner account.
But having a cup of coffee. But then I started looking around. The Hornets have 8 tradable firsts
and matching salary. They have contracts.
13 tradable seconds.
They should not do this.
They're $22 million under the apron.
They should not do this.
Like, I thought it was funny, and it sounded like a joke And of course, Giannis would have to be open to it. But man, oh man, they would have a really interesting squad. The one thing with wherever Giannis goes is they're going to have to figure out a way, like that team's going to have to figure out how to play offensive ball with him and how much he handles the rock. One thing that's not talked about enough with Giannis now is he also thinks he's a point guard too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is an evolved piece of his game. Like he wants to have the ball 30 to 33% of the time, like Luka-esque, and he wants to also create off the dribble and pass. His assist numbers are up, but like I'm not, of course, going to say and go as far to say that he's difficult to play with, but it's going to take a lot of time wherever he goes to figure out offensively how you want to look, because he takes up the ball a lot of the time on every single possession when he's handling the rock. So Stay tuned on the Giannis movement. It's going to be really interesting. But yeah, man, if you haven't been watching the Hornets, turn them on ASAP. That's your homework the next month. Turn on the Hornets.
I'm getting worried that like they were the little secret. You know what I'm saying? They were like the rap group that I discovered and I was telling my friends about, and now too many people starting to know about them. And now I feel like their next album, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm getting a little nervous. You know,
I liked them before they were big. They are the NBA League Pass team. That was such a fun
They're my favorite
game
League
to
Pass
watch.
team this year. They're number one for me on League Pass.
And the Mavs played a role in that. Cooper Flagg, the other white guy from Duke. Wow. 49 points. That's a career high for him. 34 for Con Knipple. One of my takeaways tonight, Sion James didn't do anything, but those three played together last year at Duke. How broken is college basketball that you can't win a national championship with those two on the floor together? Somebody's got to look into this carnival rim they're playing on in college, that those two can't win a championship. I mean, they made it far, but that's just crazy to me.
I don't even enjoy college basketball the way that I used to, and I used to love it, but it's just different. It's a lot different in terms of just the conference realignment is silly. The player movement, I think, is I'm all for players having freedom, flexibility, especially given what they had to deal with leading up to this, which is how we got here. But now I feel like we've gotten really far in the other direction, where it's like I don't know who's where, what's going on.
It's gotten silly.
Well, you don't like it because it's not college basketball anymore. It's pro ball. It's just another form of pro basketball. It's all like that's what collegiate athletics is. It's just another form
G
of pro
League
ball.
With more fans in the building.
Yeah, but more pageantry. That's it.
Meanwhile,
yeah, good call, David. If you like college hoops, by the way, March Madness will be here before you know it. Conference tournament play. Go check out Big Bets on Campus.
I absolutely will. I absolutely will do that for March Madness.
I love losing money. That is the one endeavor on the course of the year I just openly and I'm just okay with. I have come to terms with the fact that I'm not winning money betting March Madness, and it's too much fun. Especially the opening round. I tend to sharpen up as the tournament goes along, but who gives a shit about that? One last thing before we get to our bets. Jay Carter 90s asked a question in the chat. Do either of you want to tackle this? I watched about 3 seconds of T-Wolves Thunder tonight because I was locked in on a couple of other games that I had bets going on. This one I was off, but it is a big game. T-Wolves Thunder and the Timberwolves dominating Oklahoma City. What is going on with the Thunder? This seems to be a routine for them, not just against other good teams. They've lost to bad teams. They've lost to Charlotte, which is somewhere in the middle of that pack. Anybody want to tackle that? What is going on with OKC?
Nothing.
They've quietly had some injuries too, which I think is a small part of this, but I mean, AJ Mitchell's out, for example, and he's had a much bigger role than I thought he was going to heading into the year, which I think also says something about the other injuries that they've had, because like Alex Caruso is continually on the injury report, and obviously Jalen Williams is out for a while. We've seen like Aaron Wiggins in the past pop up there. We've seen Isaiah Joe pop up there, to a lesser degree Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been, I mean, he's been steady this year, and ultimately I don't want to say like they're doomed or anything like that, because ultimately they're 38-10. And while they're not going to get, 70 wins like many of us thought was possible, I think they're still clearly the best team. That being said, their front office doesn't seem to take a lot of risks, and I hope that they do. I'm not saying they need to go get Giannis, but I'd like to see them do something meaningful at the trade deadline. Like start really cashing in these chips. The Giddy for Caruso thing felt kind of safe. You were able to get Isaiah Hartenstein because of you just had the money to do it. And then Sorber is going to come in and ideally like fill in that role next year if he's ready. We have to see him play first because he's dealing with an ACL and he's not going to play this year. But Isaiah Hartenstein is a big team option for next year for north of 20 million, like well north of 20 million. So they might decline that and he'll just go back to free agency. We'll see. Or they keep him and they decide to figure it out from there. But I expected more of their depth. I'm not getting the consistency that I want to see from like Joe, from like Lou Dort, who he's one of the guys that I do wonder, like, do you package him if you're looking to do something? So there's just a lot of roster questions. Like I've seen more of their two-way guys than I thought we were going to see this year. So I think it's a combination of them being banged up, them not really being as consistent as we expected, but it also says something about the high expectations we have for them coming in, where we were talking about, this team could break the 73 win record. And obviously they can't do that now.
They're missing Caruso. They're missing AJ Mitchell. They're missing Jalen Williams. And they continue to still win a ton of ball games. They're allowed to lose here and there. They set an extremely high standard last year. They're not as dialed this regular season as they were last year, but that tends to happen to teams coming off a title as well. We've seen that literally every single year annually in the league for the last, 10 or 12, where you win the title, you don't look as sharp as you did or motivated as you did in the regular season. So that on top of a bunch of injuries and in and out, the inconsistency of that, I think overall they're fine and are still going to be a big time handful come a 7-game series here in the West.
What do you say we hand out some bets, gentlemen? 3-star, 2-star, 1-star. Brian, why don't you go ahead and get us started tonight?
3-star is OG Anunoby over 1.5 steals. He has gotten over this in 5 of 6. The Knicks defense looked bad for a long time. It looks to be better lately. They've gotten recently, I think, 2 of their 5 best wins of the season. And I think their win in Philly was their best win of the season, given the context of losing 2 of 9 shortly before, or 2 of 11 actually shortly before that. Them being 1-11 against teams 500 or better while on the road, and them going and beating Philly that they did last Saturday or this past Saturday, I thought was huge. OG had a lot to do with that. The defense in the last 4 games has only allowed 100 or more points once and has allowed 110 points 0 times. OG has a lot to do with that, because while he's not anchoring the defense, but he's one of the reasons that they're starting to generate a lot of turnovers, which you saw last night in the game against Toronto, where it was just ridiculous in the passing lanes. It was Darrelle Revis in like 2009 or 2010, whatever year he didn't have like a work stoppage situation where he didn't hold out. Like it was before that where he was amazing and had Revis Island and all that stuff. OG had 6 steals, I think it was, in that Raptors game, and honestly, I thought he could have been credited with another 1 or 2. The Blazers, who they play tomorrow, also lead the NBA in turnovers per 100 possessions at 16.6 per game. So they're very loose with the ball. You don't want to be loose with the ball against OG Anunoby. And this is pretty juiced. I found it at -140, but I think it's worth it. He's been on a tear. And typically when the Knicks defense is going, which it isn't always, but lately we're getting to a better place with their defense. When it goes, OG is typically the catalyst for that. And it's a good spot against the Blazers, who are very, very loose with the basketball this year.
I feel like this ties in perfectly with Sean's 3-star play on the night. So why don't we just go ahead and roll right into that?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what my Puerto Rican brethren just laid out here for the Knicks and OG and gang. I'm going to take the Knicks -7.5 here versus Portland. I think Fonseca understated it. The Knicks defense is playing a lot better over the last 7-8 games. If you just go over the last 5 or 6 games, they're number one defense in the NBA. If you then flip it to home games, their defensive rating is like just over 100 in the Garden. It's number 2, only behind, I believe, Detroit or Minnesota, but I know it's number 2. So the defense has gotten a lot better. Denny Avdia is questionable on the report. I'm going to gamble a little bit here with the injury report. If you take Denny Avdia off of that floor for the Portland Trailblazers, it's just not a team you're ever going to back. Offensive rating goes to 104. Defensive rating balloons to a 112.3. The net rating with him off is -8. And the offense improves by 15 full points when Denny Avdia is on the floor. So if there's in any way, shape, or form a possibility of him not going, or he's still dealing with a little bit of an injury on the report, it says a low back. It's not something to sneeze at. So I'm going to back the Knicks here. They've been playing, I think, a little better defensively than anyone realizes, actually really good defensively, and they've just looked a lot more whole the last week. I really like what they did back at the Garden against the Kings as well. In that building, they're different. I think they show up and put up a big number here on Portland.
How much of that the defensive rating numbers that we've seen over the last week, how much of that is anchored by the fact that they gave up 66 points to the Nets? That's like an all-time bad performance.
I think they've moved up 2 spots because of that, and they've probably moved up overall, I would say, a few
and that's
spots.
Not the only good performance they've had. That's one of those outlier games that can kind of take you in a direction that might overstate how good you're playing, but they did just hold their last 2 opponents to under 100 points. So
yeah, I still don't. Part of it is also Toronto plays into their hands. Toronto doesn't shoot a ton of 3-pointers, and that plays right into what the Knicks want to do defensively. How you can hurt the Knicks is by generating a lot of corner threes, and Toronto didn't do any of that on Wednesday night, and as a result, the Knicks were able to take advantage of that. And Toronto also didn't hit shit from 2-point range in the first half. So that was a big reason as to why their offense was just sputtering. And then they were turnover machines in the third quarter, particularly, which killed them. So I don't think the Knicks defense is as bad as like being 20th in the NBA. I also don't think they're a top 10 defense. I feel like, though, with OG, with what Mikal should be, and he was against Toronto, so we'll give him credit, and what some of these guys can do from an individual standpoint, even Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, you should have enough to have a defense that could sniff like the top 12, maybe. It's just difficult with Brunson and Cat. Cat actually hasn't been as bad defensively as probably he was last season, for example. Maybe it's the scheme. Tibbs is a little bit more conservative. Mike Brown's defensive scheme is more aggressive. You gamble a little bit more, and sometimes you get burned because of that. And they're giving up a lot of threes as a result of that. But some of it is personnel too. So it's a combination of issues. I don't think their defense is as bad as it was during the 2-9 stretch. I also don't think it's as good as this. But this is against Portland, so I don't think Portland is also going to like greatly expose them, especially if Denny ends up not playing, which, you know, we'll see because he is on the injury report, but he's questionable.
And hey, Karl Anthony Towns, you've been stinking up the joint. You're coming off a day off. Everyone has been talking big shit about your game, and we know about the rumors and potentially, you know, people talking about you packing up and going and being in a deal for Giannis. Seems very unlikely as it stands right now that Milwaukee would be able to get that done with the Knicks. But either way, this is a great spot to put up a big number and bounce back offensively. The Blazers are 24th in points allowed to centers. They give up a bunch of points inside, outside. His game is very versatile. Like when he plays well, we've seen what it looks like. He just has trouble consistently imposing his will. This seems like a really good spot to get right at the crib on a Friday night versus Portland, coming off a day of rest where everyone's been chirping all day long for multiple days in a row, and you're coming off a couple stinkers offensively. I think Cat could have a really good game in this spot as well.
I like the look for the New York Knicks, -7.5. I'm going to take my 3-star out west. Golden State +1.5 with the visiting Detroit Pistons in town. It's a tough spot for the Pistons here. West Coast back-to-back third game in 4 nights. They're coming off of a game that was a grind. We cashed the ticket last night on that with the Pistons and the Suns, as much of a sweat as it was. But we'll move on to the next day. So they had to work hard for every single bucket against a team like the Phoenix Suns. And what's their reward for that? How about chasing around Steph Curry and a Warriors team that just knocked down a near season high 23 threes in their last game? The Dubs may have found something. They got veteran reinforcements back. Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, those guys playing well. They've gotten past the sting of losing Jimmy Butler. Now they're back at home for the first time in 5 games. I like the Dubs to show out in front of the home fans. My only concern here, I'm getting the Warriors as a home underdog, where I still feel like you're buying low on them because of the Butler news. Sean, is this a laundry take the dog out game though? Because
hey, you love that.
Now, it wasn't an East Coast trip. They didn't go across the continental U.S., but it was an extended road trip. So I don't know where that falls.
Yeah, no, any extended road trip and then you're back at the crib is that walk the dog spot. Now, typically I've actually gone back and I joke around and I talk about, going to see your girlfriends and you're next thing you know, you're in a dog fight, and we've seen it, come to fruition. When you go back and look at the data, like you could go through and look at teams like coming off of 4 to 5 game road trips. It's almost like a break even type of spot. But if you pick the spot correctly, depending on the matchup, I think there is value there, and you just got to pick your spots. But yeah, man, like these are human beings coming off a long road trip. Then you got to get yourself back after getting home and relaxing for a little bit, back up to play an NBA game. And depending on the matchup, it could be a tough spot to get up for.
Why don't you piggyback off of that with your 2-star play within the same game?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the total here, partly because of what we just talked about. Sleepy spot for Golden State, a back-to-back for Detroit, and they absolutely got dusted off in Phoenix, they're just fun. Dylan Brooks is just a fun squad. Gillespie, a lot of grinders. Grayson Allen out there in the desert can just kind of grind you down, and then now you have to get right back on the plane. And as Kravitz mentioned, you got to run around and chase Steph Curry. With the rest disadvantage this year, the Detroit Pistons are 6-7 to the under on no rest. They are 5-2 to the over. That's my first time seeing that. So that's interesting. Overall, I think the number is still too inflated. I think coming off of the grinder game in Phoenix on a back-to-back with Golden State, even though they're coming off of that road trip, they're coming off a day off, and they'll be a little bit ready to go. Even if it's still sleepy for them, I think overall offensively buckets are going to be harder to come by in this matchup. So I like the under 226.5 here. I think it closes like 224, 225 total come the morning.
I love using the NBA ATS totals trends. In my opinion, that's the last thing that you should look at. That is the cherry on top of the Sunday.
Yeah.
So if you like the spot, if you like the matchup, the styles within the game itself, all of that, power ratings, projections, all of that matters significantly more. But if you can top that Sunday with and by the way, the Hornets never fail to cover the spread on the second night of a back-to-back, it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, definitely no need to, you would never want to just simply, when I first started betting and I thought I started taking it seriously, I would look at that stuff and go, oh, there we go. Got my bet for the night, and I'd be done with my research. And that's just not the way to do it. So that's not enough. I saw the
really
hesitation there, Sean. So that's not, I don't think that's enough to get you off of it.
No. And that's why I was just wanted to see what it was while we were live and wanted to go take a peek. But yeah, so like when I see something like 5-2, I still trust the homework and the initial spot more than seeing just that trend on no rest. I think too, when the team is coming off getting dusted, like the Pistons just did in Phoenix, they're going to get back to their bread and butter, and that's going to be defense in the next game. JB Bickerstaff was furious down the stretch of that game. He got a tech and was arguing quite a bit with the officials. I think he's going to get in the Pistons' ass on the way to Golden State, and then they're just going to get back to playing hard-nosed defensive first ball like they've been playing all year, and that also leans to the under. So, yeah, that's why I like this spot.
I'm going to flip over to my 2-star play. I have a feeling we're going to spend a minute on Jalen Suggs coming up. Celtics minus 10 against the Sacramento Kings. This is another 3rd and 4 night situation. Sacramento, 3rd game in 4 nights for them. 4th straight road game out east, which is always a tough spot. Facing a Celtics team that's off of a loss. Here's a trend for you, and we're going back a couple of years on this one. Boston, great team off an L under Joe Mazzulla. This season, they're 58% against the spread in that situation. Since 2023, the Celtics cover at a rate of 68% after they lose. And yes, Jaylen Brown is likely out. He's doubtful for this matchup. That is very much baked into this line, I assure you. And even with that adjustment, I still think 10 is a discount based on the numbers that I look at, the numbers that I project. I make this game closer to 13 for whatever that's worth to you. I look for these spots where the odds makers give you fair value on a team without a star, knowing that they are going to get action on the other side. So the books will be balanced with people coming in on Sacramento. Plenty of people are just going to look and say, oh, JB is out, auto bet on Sacramento. That's not the right approach. So we are going to run to the counter for the Boston Celtics at minus 10. Any pushback, Bryant?
Sacramento on no rest because they just played 2-6 against the spread this season.
Yeah, this is not a serious unit, so that's not a surprise.
The only teams worse on no rest against the spread this year are Oklahoma City, 1-6, and Brooklyn, 1-7. OKC.
See, now, OKC, that's one worth monitoring.
Well, to be fair, I think it's also because they're often favored by probably too many points in these spots.
Yeah.
12.5. They win by 8, because I'll pull up now because I bet the win-loss record is not the same. This would be great if I'm totally wrong. 3-4, so not as bad.
So wait, they're 3-4 straight up on no rest?
Straight up, yes.
OKC?
Yeah.
That's still, I mean, think about what the number, if you're just blindly betting the money line against OKC and you go 4-3.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And when you look at the top teams on no rest, it's like Detroit, Miami. I mean, that's not that surprising. Obviously, Charlotte is up there, as we talked about. Orlando, who we're about to talk about, is also up there at 5-2 on no rest.
The Magic are weird because they're actually, the more time you give them off, the worse they are. It makes no sense. Them with the rest advantage. You don't want the Magic with the rest advantage.
One of OKC's losses, I'm looking for OKC's losses. That means 4 of their 10 losses this season, which is about to be 11, was on no rest. In Portland, in Minnesota, who's about to beat them again, in San Antonio, and then the game against Charlotte at home. Those are the 4.
See, I feel like that's actionable. We need all the ammo we can get to beat OKC. And if you were on the Timberwolves on the Thursday night slate, good for you. All right, so go ahead and let's start breaking this down with we both have a heavily correlated 2 and 1 star on Jalen Suggs, and we did not discuss this pre-show, so I'm excited to see how we both landed on this.
I have Jalen Suggs over 18.5 points plus assists, which is already moving 19.5 as of the time we're talking about this. So we'll see where it settles. He had 20 last game, 16-4. He's averaging the last 2 games. Now, small sample size, but he just got back from yet another setback, unfortunately. But Orlando's much, much better when he plays, as you know, Kravitz. He's averaging in the last 2 games a shot every other minute, which I think is just great. Just putting him up. Honestly, he should have gotten this against Cleveland. He went under. Kyle Murray had this. I really like the play. Suggs shot 2 for 13. Sometimes it happens. Like it's the right spot for the right dude. This has happened to me. I can't even count. Like, if you do this enough, like, it's just going to happen. You get the right guy in the right spot. You get the volume. You get more than enough volume, and they can't hit a shot. I remember having an over with Bam when he was going on this run, and he's still on this run. Actually, he's been playing much better lately. But the one down game during this run, I was like, all right, he's showing me a little something now after he looked like the back was really messing with him. Over 17.5 points. He finished in single digits, and he shot like 1 for 15. What do you want me to do with that? Like, what do you want me to do with that? You know, like, he shot the ball 15 times, quality looks, just missed them. Make or miss league, shit happens. But with Jalen Suggs in this game against Toronto, no Franz Wagner again, which is important. They're ramping him back up. He played 29 minutes last game. He came back and played 24 right away, played 27 the next game, both of those against Cleveland. This is not going to be on the second of a back-to-back, so he's expected to play and not be on the injury report. The 29 minutes is noticeable to me because it's actually the 8th most minutes he played in a game so far this season, per Basketball Reference. Maybe he gets to 30. He's only touched 35 different times this season, and he hasn't done it since December. So I don't know if you're getting that, but I feel like you can get close. And surprisingly enough, they haven't played the Raptors this year, Kravitz. Is this true? Or has Jalen Suggs not only played the Raptors? Because I was just looking at their schedule, and I was trying to see like prior matchups and things of that nature. So let's pull this up right here. I'm pretty sure.
All these games run together, but I'm pretty sure they have played this season.
Once in December, on December 29th, Jalen Suggs did not play. The Raptors won by 1 point in Toronto.
That's
Franz
right,
was not in this.
I think the Magic blew a big lead in that one.
Franz was not in this game either. It was the Anthony Black. I may have even had Anthony Black's over in this game. But I like Suggs here. He's getting opportunities. He's getting the usage since he came back too. And I am hoping for 27 plus minutes. I think 27 to 29, something along those lines. I think
I don't think they're
going
to ramp him down, and that's definitely part of my cap too. I'm looking specifically at threes, but I'll give you another try here after tailing you on the Mo Wagner play, and I'm going to be on this with you as well as far as points assists. I'm also going to play his threes, but I'm going to kick it up the over 1.5, a little too juiced for my blood at minus 160 most places you look. 3+ threes is 2-1. I'm gonna give you my inside Magic scoop here. Jalen Suggs gets up for Raptors games. Scotty Barnes was drafted right in front of him in 2021, and I know for a fact that he uses that as a source of motivation. Jalen loves shooting the 3 ball. He attempted 7 on Wednesday night. You already heard it from Brian. The minutes have gone up and up and up since he's come back, and he plays better at home, and he gets that crowd going by making threes. I think he's trying to be less reckless out there on the basketball court, and part of that is just stand out on the perimeter when you're on offense and shoot the rock, and then go defend your ass off on the other side, and don't worry about getting to the cup. So I'm going to attack the threes at 2-1 for him to make 3, but we can very much, I think these two are heavily correlated, so I'm going to go ahead and play both and see what happens. Sean, what do you think, and what about you as far as 1-star play on the night?
Yeah, man, I'm a big Jalen Suggs guy. I think I've seen him up close a handful of times, and he's always playing aggressive. I just really like his game, and I think he's a big piece of that Orlando motion. So, yeah, let's see if he can knock down 3. My 1-star is I'm going to go with the Pels minus 2.5. I think this number ends up closing close to 3.5. Come the morning, or as you listen to this on a Friday morning, it might be there. I think it's going to end up closing there. I'll take it at 2.5, and I'll lay the extra 5 cents at minus 115. I really like what the 5 of Herb Jones, Zion, Trey Murphy, Derek Queen, and Sadiq Bey have been doing. Jordan Poole not getting the minutes he typically has throughout the year. That's probably a good thing overall if you're trying to win basketball games. They've been competing. They just beat Memphis in their building and put up 133 last week. They now get them at home. I don't see any reason why they can't replicate that same spot. It's a 1-star. That's my lean. I like the Pels at home minus 2.5.
I know Ja's not there, but I was surprised to see them favored in this game. That was one of the more eye-popping lines of the night. Not surprisingly, that has not happened much for New Orleans. They've only been favored in 3 games so far this season. So them laying anything terrifies me, but it does feel like they would be the right side here.
Or is it giving you a little signal?
Well, and that's where it is absolutely that, because my process, I can tell you this in 10 seconds. I develop my own power rating for each team. I slam them together. I have game factor prices for things like back-to-backs, rest advantages, players, all that. I make my number for each game, and I specifically do not look at the line before I iron out my number because I don't want to be influenced.
Sure.
And then I match it up. And I'm pretty spot on with the market. I was off by like 4 points on this game in the other direction. So that's why it took me by surprise. I had the Grizzlies as 2.5 point favorites, and I'm like, am I looking at this right? And the Pels were favored by 2.5. So yes, that is usually when I see that, I'm not arrogant enough to go, well, clearly these odds makers don't know what the fuck they're doing. I got it all figured out. Usually it means I've done something wrong. There's some error in my process. Or, like you said, it is a massive signal that this is happening for a lot of people, and it's a time to look the other way. So it just depends on how you read it. And I think that's an important lesson for anybody that puts numbers together. Don't be a douche about it and assume that your numbers are better than people that have been doing this for decades.
Well said.
Agree.
Brian, why don't you close it out? Final 1 star.
Scariest play on the board for me.
I don't know. When I saw this, I almost took the night off. Honestly.
This is a 1 star, but it might be a 0.5 star. But there's a reason. Donovan Clingan under 12.5 boards. He popped off for 20 against the Wizards. He had 15 against Boston. He had 16 against the Raptors before that. This is all in a row. We'll ignore the 8 against Miami. He had 17 against Sacramento. This is already moving to 11.5, by the way. We'll see where it settles. The point of this is, one, if you watch the Blazers at all, or just bet, because some people bet and don't really watch, and some people are actually good at it, which I don't. That's a skill to me that I just love watching basketball too much. But listen, salute. Donovan Clingan is extremely volatile to watch, to bet on, to just observe from a night-to-night basis in terms of his consistency or lack thereof. I mentioned the 20 rebounds. I didn't mention that he was 6 for 17 from the field in that game. There's a world Denny Avdia misses. Curious to see how that impacts us at all. Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson should both play. That's the key. Mitchell Robinson is not coming off a back-to-back. In fact, he rested against the Raptors. I was a little confused at that decision. I would have played him against the Raptors and not against the Kings, but it worked out, so whatever. And Karl-Anthony Towns got 1 million rebounds in that game. The Knicks allowed the 5th fewest boards per 100 possessions this season. And it's a better number when Mitchell Robinson is out there, because Mitchell Robinson doesn't play every game, because he doesn't play back-to-backs, because you have to monitor his minutes. The defense, as we've talked about already on the show, has been a lot better lately. So Donovan Clingan, it's just a big number. I get the big number, but like 20 rebounds against the Wizards is not the same as getting 20 rebounds against the Knicks. And I don't know if he's going to do that. 12.5, where I caught it, it's just a big number. Last time they did play each other, he got about 30 minutes in that game. He finished with 8. And that was in a game where Portland, by the way, lost at home, and it was during the Knicks stretch where they were not playing well defensively. They were playing actually poorly. Mitchell Robinson went into that game and got 11 rebounds off the bench in 25 minutes. Karl-Anthony Towns started. He got his 11 rebounds. As a matter of fact, they beat the Blazers on the glass 45-39 when they weren't necessarily in form, and nobody from the Blazers got double digits in rebounds. So I don't want to over-index on one game, but this is a tougher game to get those rebounds for Donovan Clingan. And again, just the volatility. Like he's one of these dudes where he can get 20 rebounds or he can get 6. He can get 15 or he can get 8. I will take a slight under. It's a 1-star for a reason. I will take a slight under on 12.5.
Yeah, the good news is that if you lose this bet, you shouldn't have to sweat it very much because he's just going to demolish it.
We'll know early.
But a loss is a loss. You know, if you bet 1 unit and you lose the bet by 10 rebounds, it's still the same L. And then that Karl Anthony
But
Towns,
if you win.
Yeah. Sean mentioned Karl Anthony Towns having a big game. Rebounding over him is going to be a problem.
Listen, if this game starts, and Jalen Brunson gets him on a switch and draws 2 bullshit fouls in the first 4 minutes, and he has to go sit out for a little bit, like
that will help. Yeah. And to go with that defensive rating that the New York Knicks have been putting up, it's been on the back of a lot of clean rebounding too. They're like top 5 in rebounding the last 12 games, last 5 at the crib. So they've been rebounding the ball really, really well. So that goes hand in hand with the defensive improvement. So if we expect them to play good D, Cat to have a little bounce back game against a weaker, softer inside Portland Trailblazer squad, Klingon shouldn't have 13 rebounds.
2 quick items before we wrap. Dojo21 says you can't spell Hornets without no rest.
We should sell that T-shirt.
That is really good, actually.
Matt, when you watch this, I just texted you a little while ago, but not about this. When you watch this, like we need to convince somebody. David, let us know who to contact. We should have a Buckets T-shirt. You can't spell Hornets without no rest. We legitimately should.
That is really good.
I will wear it on this show. I'll wear it on other shows. I will wear the shit out of it.
I will as well. The cat would be officially out of the bag if we make a T-shirt about it, though.
To answer Texas Hedge Fund, do you like it more if Denny is in? I would say you probably have to. I don't know how much or to what degree it'll impact it, but I think you have to, I think you have to.
They're dogging you on that Klingon under. All right.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, it is time for our Friday night.
D-Rob is right. Just look. 1 star. You know what I mean? We like to, especially Kravitz. I think Kravitz is probably taking the most chances with his 1 stars. We like to gamble a little bit with the 1 stars.
Nailed it too. MPJ last night, 30 plus. We got that almost 3-1. Beautiful. All right, before we get out of here, it's time for our Friday night NBA same game parlay, and we are looking the way of MSG. The New York Knicks -7.5. OG Anunoby getting it done on defense, over 1.5 steals. And then Brian's bold play of the night, Donovan Klingon under 12.5 rebounds. It's about 5-1 in the market. That's going to do it for our Friday night NBA same game parlay, and that is going to do it for tonight's episode. If you want to tail any of the bets that we have discussed, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or you can go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. Shout out to the squad, Sean Little, Bryan Fonseca. Couldn't do it without our producer, David Payne. Let's get some shirts made, fellas. We'll see you back here next week. And until then, let's get buckets.